There are some rather disturbing allegations out there about legendary comic book writer Neil Gaiman. I haven't really talked about him here on the channel because of partially what happened with Ed Piskor. Plus, we didn't have all the details. I didn't know if anything else was going to come out there. But we are going to talk about this today with Aaron Sparrow. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I didn't have on my bingo card Neil Gaiman finger jamming his fucking nanny is something I wanted to talk about on the channel.
It's surprising how things come out, right? Or go on, as the case may be.
I guess we've got to get into this. This is all coming out of reporting from, I believe it's called Tortiose.com. Neil Gaiman has been accused of sexual assault by 2 women with whom he was in consensual relationships and is the subject of a police complaint in New Zealand. Gaiman's position is that he strongly denies any allegations of non-consensual sex with the women and adds New Zealand police did not take up his offer of assistance over one woman's complaint in 2022, which he says reflects its lack of substance. However, New Zealand police said it made a number of attempts to speak to key people as part of this investigation, and those efforts remain ongoing, adding that there are a number of factors to take into consideration with this case, including location of all parties. The women's allegations were first reported in Tortoise's podcast, Master. The allegations against Neil Gaiman. The 4-part series examines the women's accounts of rough and degrading sex with the author, which they say was not always consensual.
Neil Gaiman is a male feminist, which is, as we've discussed previously, both a description and a warning. So this stuff always comes out, and he's I believe he has a tweet from a few years ago that stated "believe all women." So I don't know what to do here. Neil. I mean, I want to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I want to lean on what my, initial feeling would be, listen to people that, make these accusations, but also, then verify the facts, innocent until proven guilty. I want to keep an open mind about it. But you told me to believe all women. You told me that. So you set the rules for you. So I tend to think that maybe you're a creep.
Well, there are a lot of kind of weird things going on about this. Whereas in the past, even with the Sean Gordon Murphy stuff, where he was accused of love bombing, or the Ed Piskor allegations, there were so many people that just jumped on board and really were coming down on all the parties here. It feels like Neil Gaiman, for the most part, at least by industry insiders, he's kind of getting a pass on this.
I think that everybody kind of judges what they can get out of it. In the Ed Piskor situation, obviously he had a lot of people that were jealous of his mild level of success, because it was, something that they could actually imagine. They could actually see that if I could just get in there right, I could have that same level of success. And somehow he's holding me back by having it, and they were jealous of him. So the long knives come out, amongst the people that are the bottom feeders. Your Alex DeCampi's, your Ramon Villalobos's, they're going to draw out their long knives, and they're going to try to bring him down because they've got some beef with him over something, inconsequential. With Neil, they might see that, if they keep, I don't want to come out hard in the paint against him, because then if nothing comes of it, he's still in a position where it could, cost me work. So maybe it just benefits me to be quiet. It's kind of cowardly. It's kind of pathetic. The entire industry is filled with moral cowards. And like I said, I don't know what to make of this, because I do believe innocent till proven guilty. There is a lot of things in Neil's description of events that are creepy and weird. There's a lot of things in his lifestyle that are creepy and weird. Living in an open relationship is creepy and weird. Never works out for at least one party. It always seems to work out for one really well, and then the other not so much. So he's definitely got some proclivities and some behaviors that, suggest that maybe he is somebody to watch. There's the whole thing about how, it was consensual that I hired this, young nanny, and within a half hour of hiring her, I was cuddling her in the bathtub. He admits that happened. He just doesn't admit to her version of it happening. Which is creepy and weird. So, there's a power differential there. All these things that he would probably have condemned other people for when he made his believe all women's statement. So a lot of complicated issues surrounding this one.
So do you think this is people learning from what happened with Ed Piskor, that maybe you should wait for all the information out there? Because it almost feels more like the Warren Ellis type situation, but they completely pounced on him and have blackballed him from the industry for years at this point. They even dedicated an entire website. And from what I understand behind the scenes, there's more stuff out there circling around Neil Gaiman.
They pounced on Warren Ellis, but I would say that it seems like the accusations against Neil are worse because they involve him forcing himself on people. Whereas Warren Ellis was, hey, we consensually slept with him, but we don't feel like he did enough for us for sleeping with him.
He promised potential work in the future, and he was going to network more on our behalf.
Yes, he promised potential work.
Yeah.
The operative word being potential. But you willingly slept with him. He didn't coerce you. You entered into a quid pro quo, and you're just mad that he didn't fulfill his ends of the verbal contract. That doesn't paint you in a great light either, does it? So I don't think that what Warren Ellis did it rises to the level of what Neil is being accused of. But they all immediately, turned on Warren. Now, granted, that was a few years ago. It was a little bit of a different time. But I don't think that the comic industry has learned anything. I don't think that the comic industry ever learns anything.
Speaking of the allegations of what happened, there's 2 stories out there. Scarlet, 23, alleges that Gaiman sexually assaulted her within hours of their first meeting in February 2022 in a bath at his New Zealand residency where she worked as a nanny to his child. Tortiose understands that Gaiman's account is that they only cuddled and made out in the bath and that he had established consent for this. His position is that over the 3-week sexual relationship that followed, they only ever engaged in sensual digital penetration. Scarlet alleges that within this otherwise consensual relationship, Gaiman engaged in rough and degrading penetrative sexual acts with her. Tortiose has seen contemptuous messages, notes, and spoken to friends who Scarlet talked to at the time, which support her allegations. So we do have a he said, she said situation, which you almost always do in these kind of situations. But even if his version of events are correct, they do not paint a very good light on it that he went out there and hired this girl. And within minutes of her starting her employment, he's, for some reason, cuddling with her in the bathroom, finger banging her.
There's all kinds of ways that these people can manipulate. And then, and the girls end up feeling used. And then this is the result of what happens. So ultimately, Neil, maybe you should have honored your marriage vows. Maybe you shouldn't have been in an open marriage and trying to, stick it into whatever would move, whether it was consensual or not. And you wouldn't be in this predicament. So, it's one of those things where it's like, do I know that a crime was committed? I do not. Like I said, innocent until proven guilty. Do I know that Neil, even what he's admitted to is pretty weird and paints him in a bad light and puts him in very precarious position for people to speculate? Absolutely.
I agree completely. The second woman, Kay, was 18 when she met Gaiman at a book signing in Sarasota, Florida in 2003. She began a romantic relationship with him when she turned 20, and Gaiman was in his mid-40s, but alleges that she submitted to rough and painful sex that she neither wanted nor enjoyed. In one incident, she alleges Gaiman penetrated her despite her asking him not to, as she was suffering from a painful infection. Gaiman's position is that he denies any unlawful behavior with Kay and is disturbed by her allegations. Tortiose understands that he believes Kay's allegations are motivated by her regret over the relationship and that Scarlet was suffering from a condition associated with false memories at the time of their relationship with him, a claim which is not supported by her medical records and medical history. So once again, he said, she said, and this one's a little bit older. I'm not sure what the statute's limitations are, but these allegations obviously are over 21 years old at this point, or I guess right around 20, because it said they waited 2 years.
Yeah, I think, just Neil's not as easy a target to take down. So that's why we don't see the usual suspects in the industry, going after him, which, is good because, like I said, everybody deserves their day in court. Everybody deserves to be heard. Obviously, these women deserve to be heard. Obviously, Neil's defense needs to be heard. I don't know how you really come out of these things unscathed for either party, because on the one hand, there's just no way for us, the public, to ever really know what happened behind closed doors. So, you just kind of like make your own call. And at the end of the day, it's not really up for us to decide any of this. It's for the courts to decide. It's for the parties. Hopefully, if Neil did these things, then I hope that he gets the full recompense of what he deserves. If he didn't do these things, I hope that he suffers no, ill effects from it. But man, it's just one of those complicated things where it's like, we can all have an opinion on it, but at the end of the day, none of those opinions mean anything because we weren't there.
So Aaron, you obviously have been in the comic book industry for a long time. You used to be on the con scene, getting the word out, getting your portfolio, works that you've done out there, trying to get jobs and stuff. And we certainly do know that there's a reputation with bar con, where the pros go to the bars afterwards, and apparently a lot of debaucherous kind of stuff happens. Were there a lot of dudes that you witnessed that would like go out there and try and prey on maybe fans and stuff in those situations?
No, I mean, I never really traveled in those circles. I always tended to have like a group around me of people that I knew really well. And I've never seen anybody kind of, I've never seen anybody act in like a overtly lecherous way or things like that. I mean, I've seen people flirt. I've seen fans come up and flirt with artists and, you know, vice versa, and or writers, you know, I've seen that little kind of like flirtation go on. You know, I have seen a few things where, you know, people would actually hook up, but I've never seen anything that like rang any alarm bells for me. But like I said, I don't travel in those circles. I didn't hang out with any of the people that have ever really been accused of this stuff. So yeah, it's not been part of what I've witnessed at cons, but I know that it does go on.
I'm not personally all that familiar with this. Like Neil Gaiman, people might find this weird. I don't really care about the Sandman, and that's really the only big book that he's ever really written of note, like the Sandman universe stuff. It's not for me. It's nothing I've ever been interested in. So Neil Gaiman isn't a creator I have so much care about or even like ask questions about to people that know him. So I'm pretty far removed from this one, but those are some pretty serious allegations. As somebody that might have enjoyed Neil Gaiman's work a little bit more than me, does this make you change your feelings about his work and maybe supporting him in the future?
I mean, I kind of outgrew Neil's work a long time ago. So, you know, and I don't even know that he would come back and do any comic book work. You know, he's big and important and working with Netflix now. He's turned me off over the years with a lot of the, you know, political things that he said and a lot of the ways that he's kind of come out and gaslit fans. You know, obviously there was the whole Netflix thing where they race swapped Death, who has a very specific look. And he came out and because he was getting a nice fat check, tried to defend it. So, you know, I lost a lot of respect for him there. So, you know, either way this goes, it doesn't change how I feel about Neil Gaiman's work particularly, because like I said, it's I'm pretty much past it at this point.
So there you go. Those are the allegations that are out there against Neil Gaiman. We've covered them here. It's certainly been a much different atmosphere around all this kind of stuff and the way people are trading it. Not sure if people learn from the Ed Piskor situation that maybe we should take a wait and see. Let's not all dogpile on it. I'm not sure if maybe it's Neil Gaiman so powerful that people still find him useful, and maybe it's not time to crucify him, kind of like they did, obviously, with the Warren Ellis as well. But he's certainly getting treated differently, and I do think these allegations, especially the initial one in New Zealand, do sound pretty serious. It sounds like they're still being investigated, and obviously some more stuff could come out. But I guess that'll be our extent of the coverage at this point, unless you have anything else to say about it, Aaron.
I'm just saying, save every text. You know, any communications that you have with people, hang on to them, because, you know, if you are falsely accused, it helps to have a paper trail. But also, if you can, try not to put yourself in positions where you're going to be falsely accused. I know you can't always control that, but you know, if you try to avoid situations where you're alone with people, and if you avoid, you know, hiring a nanny that you then try to immediately get into the bathtub, you won't have a lot of these problems. I
do want to say thank you very much to Mr. Sparrow for joining me here on this. Now, we do have another 2 hours, maybe more than that, to go on Think Critical Patreon for the Geek Fix podcast, which will have this and everything else we're going to talk about, including just insane stuff by Joshua Dysart on Twitter. You're not even going to believe that stuff. If you want to hear that, you're going to have to go to the Patreon. There's a link in the video description.